Welcome to the pop culture cosmos.
And we're back with another episode of NBA Observations. It's Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much again for joining us right here on the Lakers Fast Break. Please make sure you like and subscribe. Go ahead and hit that notification bell because I know that's been an issue lately. Oh, I don't know when your shows come up. Well, if you hit the notification bell, that little bell thingy, once you subscribe, it will let you know when the latest shows I upload or go live with come right to you on YouTube as well. So go ahead and make sure you do that. Plus, also make sure you go ahead and help out my good friend, Mr. Calif Poncy, on his platforms at the New Century Press and the Suave Report as well. Well, it is, of course, the man behind a lot of those great articles that he does there. Plus, he's a great part of what we've been doing here at NBA Observations. It is Calif Poncy. Calif, welcome to Cancun from me to you, my friend. I'm opening the door for you, as with my Lakers stuff on, of course. You coming in with your OKC garb, just right there. The fishing's good. The food is terrific, and just make sure you go ahead and just wear a hat because of the weather. But the sun's good in Cancun and everything's okay.
Yeah, I guess you would have a better idea than most. Do they have good hamstring treatment? That's kind of what I'm most worried about with my Cancun trip. Yeah,
absolutely. Although the wonders of Spain didn't do good enough. Although they said they found it to be worse than what they found it to be in Dallas. So that'll tell you all you need to know, I guess. So I don't know. We will see what happens, but it starts Wednesday with the NBA Finals, Game 1. San Antonio was the victor in the Western Conference Finals. I think it was, again, great Game 1, great Game 7. What came in between was,
forgettable.
Yeah, I guess you could say the best way to say it. But Game 1 will be New York at San Antonio. Our thoughts on that? Go ahead, Calif, because again, there's going to be 3 days off, and it is mainly a younger team in San Antonio, so I don't see them being extraordinarily tired. Maybe mentally drained after a taxing 7-game series, but I don't know. I'm not betting against Wembayana. I told you before. This kid is just something different, something generational, something special, and I just got to see it happen. And I understand New York has all the momentum right now, but they've been playing against Eastern teams, and they have not played against a Victor Wembayana and a 3-guard set that they can throw at you like the San Antonio Spurs.
Yeah, so I'll say these kind of 2.5, 3 things in favor of the Knicks before I make my pick here. The way that they are the best 5-out team in the NBA, the lineup they can put on the floor. And that's a way to kind of disturb what Wemby does down low. And that's what OKC really couldn't do with the injuries, is they couldn't really, and the reluctance of whatever was going on with Chet, they could not put out a really good 5-out lineup. And that played right into what the Spurs want to do with Wemby. They said, okay, Aaron Wiggins, okay, Chet, okay, Hartenstein, whoever it may be, go ahead. We're just going to leave you open. We're going to let Wemby roll. We're going to let him completely turn off the paint for everybody who wasn't Jared McCain in moments. New York's not going to have that problem. They can put out the Brunson, Cat, Anunoby, Bridges, Hart lineup where, hey, Hart's just shot like 37, 38% this year. And now that we could definitely see him take a dip, but with how well they've been playing, I'd bet the 3-point shooting probably sustains for them. The other thing is, not only did San Antonio just come off a super long series, I think that's about the matchup, how personal it was for Wemby with Chet, how personal it was for that San Antonio team with the OKC and vice versa. I think it was, on top of being a really physically taxing series, like you said, a really emotionally, I think it's going to be a hard one for them to kind of come down from, or it's a really big win for them. I think more than most West Finals are. I think we saw that in the post game reaction with Wemby. How he reacted, like that meant a lot to them, as it should. I mean, huge win, obviously, but and then New York was kind of just like, yeah, we're here, we're ready. We swept Cleveland. It wasn't very hard. They're definitely not coming off the high that they would feel if they won the finals as compared to the Spurs. They just had about as impactful as a win as you can have without it being a championship. So we'll see how they come down from that. And then the one thing with Wemby, the Wemby has two things at this stage of his career that kind of aren't perfect already. And it's that the first one, the most important one we saw in the Thunder series, he sometimes falls in love with the jumper. Where if he just went inside every time, which I get is it's a lot to ask with how much energy he exerts and how much he gets beat up. But there's just games that the Thunder just won because he just said, I'm just shooting jumpers. And he doesn't always make his jumpers. No one does. Steph Curry doesn't make all his jumpers. And so the second thing is his second kind of thing that he has that's not perfect already is he's not a really very high minutes player in the regular season. And so could we see him if it goes long, which as we'll see here soon is not necessarily what I personally think is going to happen as much as I respect this Knicks run. If it does go long, could he start to wear down a little bit? But for the Spurs, why I'm going to pick the Spurs, and I'm going to pick the Spurs in 5. And that seems dismissive of these Knicks. I think these Knicks are a really good team, a really fun story. And I'm very open to in this particular series, most of the series, when I picked OKC in 6 last series, it was kind of a thing of I think Jalen Williams will be back and all this and all that and all this. But I mean, of course, I knew, of course the Spurs could win, right? The Spurs were a great team. They gave them problems in the regular season. Jalen Williams hasn't been able to stay healthy all season, and we saw that rear its head. This is one though that I was pretty confident in that before the series started, not knowing the injuries that would play out. In this is one where I think it's going to be either Spurs in 5. And if it goes late, if it turns into a 6-7 game series, I think that's just in the benefit of the Knicks, personally. And so I'm going to pick the Spurs to do this because, again, my opinion is you hear all these people, you hear these odds are way too crazy in favor of the Spurs, this and that. The Knicks they're right there. I think that the Knicks have not really played an above average team yet, personally, even the Cavs. The Cavs beat an incredibly flawed Detroit team that probably was a Franz Wagner injury away from losing to the 8 seed Magic, if we're being honest. So I think the Knicks haven't really played anybody very special yet. And I just think that despite the injuries, the Spurs just knocked off a really, really, really special team on the road in Game 7, all the pressure on them. And I think that I said this already, but I don't necessarily think that we should look at this as the Spurs or the Thunder are just like everybody else. They can be beaten. I think they can be beaten, but I think they can be beaten by one another. I don't necessarily think any other teams can mess with these two teams, especially with the Spurs' health really trending in the right direction. You'd think this time off is going to be good for whatever's going on with Dylan Harper's adductor. Fox looked the best he's looked by a mile in the OKC series in Game 7. So I just think that we're going to get through this, and we're just going to say, wow, the Spurs are here. We already are saying that, obviously. Wemby's here. It's Wemby's league. And also, maybe we shouldn't pour dirt on OKC. Maybe it's just that these two teams are a lot better than everybody, and it's pretty crazy that they went to 7 with the injuries they had. So I'm going Spurs in 5. Wemby Finals MVP, Wemby's league. The NBA is just jumping for joy in the league offices at this series in general, no matter who wins. So yeah, I'm going Spurs in 5. I'd imagine a really good Castle series too. This seems like the type of team with how silly Karl Towns can be down low with the fouls he does. With the lack of a really physical perimeter defender to put on Castle, I think Castle will be back to being really good. And he was good against OKC, but before that, it was what is this guy? I think we could see him return to that form. And then, I think Wemby, especially with Mitchell Robinson I imagine he'll play, but either way, he does have
he's going to play. That's already been reported. He'll play. Not it's going to hurt his free throw shooting any.
That's fair enough. But all it takes is
I think
kind
he
of
could break all of his fingers and it's still not hurt.
probably the same percentage. Maybe he'd go up because he'd have to do a new form. But
Granny, he should try the granny. I'm
he
telling
should.
you.
No, someone needs to eventually. I mean, I remember all the stories are that Shaq just thought he looked way too stupid, so he couldn't do it, and it was an ego.
Doesn't
thing.
matter if he'd hit 90% of them. He just wouldn't do it.
When it looked too stupid. But yeah, I actually agree with Mitchell Robinson. That'd be fascinating. Why no one's ever done that? But but anyway, either way, like he is going to have some finger thing. Your hands are going to be really important in this series because one of the ways we saw the Thunder get an advantage over the Spurs is when another one of those kind of mini flaws with Wemby is you can get on the offensive glass against him. And that Mitchell Robinson is probably the best offensive rebounder in the league that isn't Steven Adams. So he's going to be really important for the series, and he has a finger injury that is not going to keep him out, but he is a center. He's going to be doing layups and dunks. Wemby's going to be down there throwing his hands at his hands. Just makes it maybe 5% tougher. And I just think this Spurs team is really special. I think the Thunder team we just saw lose is really special. And I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong because I just like the Knicks more than the Spurs from my fan perspective. And I think it'd be awesome and super cool and a great story if they won. But I just think that this Knicks team, I don't think it's special. I think they're really good. But I think the Spurs are special and the Thunder are special. And I don't think anybody else really is right now.
I think when it comes down to it, I've got Spurs in 6 or 7, simply because the fact that if there's going to be a learning curve on how to finish off teams for the NBA Finals, it might be this time right now where they have maybe some bumps in the road. They got to make sure that one of the facets that they are deficient at is offensive rebounds. For a period of time, we saw in Game 7, Oklahoma City stayed in the game simply based off of their offensive rebounding, and Mitchell Robinson, bad pinky or no, is one of the best offensive rebounders in the game. But you're right on Cat. If Cat, the one thing that Victor Wembayana does almost as good as SGA does, or in fact sometimes better, is draw fouls. And if Cat gets into foul trouble on a repeated basis, it could go 4, it could go 5. But I have a feeling that at least there's going to be 1 or 2 games they're going to let things slide as far as the refs are concerned, and at least draw things out to try and make it more of a competitive matchup. But we will wait and see. But if those 3 guards on San Antonio are gelling and are not bothered by the same high level of defense that OKC gave them, especially early on when they were turning the ball over like crazy, that could be a problem for New York. I mean, OG is a good defender. Hart is a good defender. They Bridges is a good defender, and they've all played real well in this 10-game series. But I just have doubts that they're going to be able to sustain that against those 3 guards on San Antonio, especially with the way Harper's playing at an elite level for a rookie right now.
For anybody, this Spurs thing. If we want to do a narrative podcast sometime, we should do how have the Spurs never fallen in the lottery? What is the magic that they're instilling to make this happen? Because he is unbelievable. He's so good. I have not been that impressed with a young guy in a series in maybe ever, like just in terms, because it's not only how good he was, it's that you got like the Knicks do have good defenders and but they're not on OKC's level defensively. Only San Antonio's on OKC's level defensively. Right. And so this isn't going to be anything they haven't seen before. I imagine based on the regular season matchups, we'll probably have Anunoby on Wemby most of the time. He was one of the better Wemby defenders in the NBA. Actually, he's kind of the perfect guy who you'd want, who's a 6'9", thick, strong guy that the Thunder just didn't really have. So that's going to be a new look for Wemby. But another thing one of the things that is special about this Knicks team is it feels like we saw this in Game 1 against Cleveland, right? Like it feels like they can walk you down no matter what. Like they're never out of a game. They're so good in the clutch. And I think that San Antonio showed an ability in that Thunder series where how many times did it feel like in that Game 7, like, okay, here come the Thunder. They're coming. They're down 2. They're down 4. They're at home. They're experienced. Shea's playing out of his mind, all this. And then they just said, no, we're good, and went on their own 7-0 run to thwart any momentum. And so I think that this Spurs team to their credit, and this is where I would argue they're actually better built than the Thunder. They seem to, especially Wemby, of course. I mean, I'm not going to give them a bunch of credit for drafting Wemby. I think I probably could have put someone who's never watched basketball before, put a line of guys in front of me, like,
the tall guy.
Who do you want on your basketball team? They probably would have picked Wemby, but more like Castle, like those guys are absolute psycho killers, man. Like they are like Castle specifically is just wired in this way that you're just, I mean, he's just insane. He's getting mad. He's freaking out. He's about to fight Alex Caruso for making like non-reckless, like he sat him down. He's like, but he's just so amped up and wired in. He's like, I hate you. I'm playing against you. I'm playing with this ferocity that I haven't. I mean, it's like Russell Westbrook, like seriously. And I don't say that lightly. Growing up watching OKC all the time, like that's who it reminds me of. Where it's just like he just has this energy of like I hate everybody else on the floor all the time, and so I just don't think this is a team that's going to get like walked down. And that's kind of one of the Knicks' superpowers is how good they are in the clutch. And so I just think that the thing that the Knicks could do in the series that they have a chance is if they shoot really well in every game, or 4 out of 7 games, right? Like they could win because they're such a good shooting team. And that's kind of the one somewhat hole in San Antonio's defense is they're not great at defending the 3-point line. But, the finals are none of these Knicks have been in the finals either, to my knowledge. I mean, Mikal Bridges, I guess, but never mind. And Anunoby, I guess they have a few guys who have been there. I don't know what I'm talking about, but either way, like this feels a little different, right? Like it's different when it's different when it's New York. It's different when this just feels like a way more important finals than like Toronto Golden State did, frankly. Like this is a really important feeling finals. This is either the rejuvenation of the Knicks or it's Wemby's being coronated at 22 years old. Like those are the only two possible outcomes from this. One of those two things is going to happen. And so it's a really important series that is going to be super high pressure. And I just think that the Spurs just played in about as high pressure of a situation as you can be in, frankly, and handled it as well as anyone's ever handled one of those situations. I can't believe how well every single role player played in Oklahoma City on the road in a Game 7. Like it's just unbelievable. And so
even Luke Cornett, with people are calling with the play of the game.
Best play of the game. Best play. Yeah. I mean, seriously, like that.
Although,
seriously, if
you looked at that highlight though, Hartenstein was fumbling the ball before.
Yeah, but I think he's probably fumbling the ball because he feels Cornett's there, right? And then he gets the awesome block he was fumbling the ball, but I mean, I think if Cason Wallace maybe does a little seal or maybe, whatever, I think he probably just dunks it. But he felt Cornett was there, so he went to lay it up and just lost the ball. And then Cornett awesomely blocked it when he wasn't going to make it anyway, but still. I mean, even Cornett in his 4 minutes that he played, he was impactful, about as impactful as the 4 minutes as you're going to get. So, I mean, this Spurs team is just – I've went from saying, like, they're not ready for it, they can't be ready to – I've never seen a team – more ready for a moment than what I saw yesterday in terms of top to bottom. Everybody on the roster said, we're here. We're not scared. We're on the road. We don't care. We're 21. We're 22, whatever. Check ball. And they went and they made every shot, man. Like, so, I mean, I think it's the Spurs. I would be I'm sticking to Spurs in 5. I just think that we just saw two heavyweight special all-time teams go at it, and one was weakened, but still I think that OKC team, even with what they were, is better than the Knicks, frankly. So I could be wrong. Maybe this Knicks team is super special and I'm ignoring what's in front of me because I'm being too disrespectful of the East, but I'm just going to go with my gut, and that's the Spurs are just amazing, man. And I don't think the Knicks don't strike me as amazing, and the Spurs do.
No, I already said that we saw the NBA Finals. I'm going to stick to that one. If New York wins, there you go. More power to them. Then they deserve it even more. But I still think we saw the two best teams in the league go at it in the Western Conference Finals. And that's, again, New York has to prove us wrong if that's the case. But I do agree with you that San Antonio is going to win. If you guys are out down there on YouTube or you're listening to us, what have you, on audio podcast formats, go ahead and let us know your thoughts on the NBA Finals right there in the comments below, indeed. But before we head on out, you and I are continuing our look at the NBA teams and what they might or should do this summer, or in the case of one team, should do this summer, but probably won't. And that's in New Orleans and also Cleveland, Ohio. So we're going to start off with the New Orleans Pelicans, who just lost Ramadan to become the assistant general manager of the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm not trying to be a little bit facetious on this, but I hear one of the things that was said, when they hired him, as far as that's concerned for the Lakers, the code word was rocket scientist. As far as inside source tells ESPN that this guy was thought of as a rocket scientist for a way he reshaped or utilized AI and coding to reshape how the front office does its work.
I'm out. I'm out.
All I'm saying is, whatever AI was utilized in New Orleans didn't work out so well.
No.
So I think whoever said that is putting way too much pressure on it. He's a USC grad, so I love my Trojans. So I'm going to give him some respect, and we'll see what happens in Lakers land. But I just don't think when you're coming from New Orleans,
can't be a rocket scientist to be on the Pelicans.
Yeah, exactly. Because we've seen some against the grain rocket scientist moves within the past calendar year. And so with that being said, New Orleans still has an array of talent, but seemingly no way to get it on the same page to become a winning team, in my opinion. They've got a lot of pieces that just don't fit very well. And in doing so, I think changes need to be made in order for them to go ahead and advance further, in my opinion, from that level of playoffs that they had, that one game against the Lakers in the play-in where Zion Williamson got injured, and now ever since then it's been a downhill slope ever since. So with that being said, New Orleans does have some assets that they can move, the first of which being Zion Williamson, because I know those are when it comes to Trey Murphy Jr. The third and Herb Jones, those are the ones that I think a lot of people are going to be talking about this summer, like they were talking about last summer and the summer before them, as far as it's concerned. But it all starts with Zion Williamson. What do you do? Because he's not going to end up being a mercurial player, but he's not a slouch either, as far as it's concerned. He's not a player that is, he's not a player that underwhelms when he's out there on the court. And last year, 25, 8 rebounds a game. I mean, he is playing at a solid, if not good level. I don't think he's going to be the mercurial star that many were hoping he was when he was first drafted. But your thoughts on Zion Williamson, and what do you do with him?
It would just be really dependent upon the offer for me. Like I can see why you trade him in the scenario you trade him in, but I just think that he's just such a weird player where it's like the talent, the off court stuff is the off court stuff where it's very odd, it's weird, whatever. But like he hasn't gotten suspended for it yet, and it doesn't seem like he's probably going to. And when he has played, and last year's the healthiest he's really ever been, like he is
62 games.
Yeah, like when he does play, he is such a dynamic talent that you just can't really replicate. And I think
21, I want to say 21-6. I said 25. That was earlier in his career. He did 21, 6, and 3, just to let you know, and shot 60% from the field.
Yeah, he's a really unique talent. Like there isn't Zion's running around. I mean, there's just, he's a 6'5" center power forward who is super efficient and gets whatever he wants inside when he's healthy. But then he has no resemblance of a jumper and is probably the best when you run him at point Zion, but you also can't really have an efficient offense when you run. So, I mean, he's this really weird player that no one has really figured out how to scheme around yet in the NBA. But I think that the pieces of something are here. And I think that those two pieces, that they might not be the two best players on the team, but Fears and Queen, I think, are both good. And so I don't know how good they're going to be. Maybe those two can't be your building blocks because they're always going to be too bad defensively. I definitely
Yeah,
can
they
see that as
were.
the reality.
I was looking at the stats, defensive rankings, defensive ratings for Dalton Connect. Although Bub Carrington really has to do something about that because he was the absolute worst by far, ratings wise. But on that top 20 list were both Fears and Queen as far as it's concerned, and that's something that needs to change very soon.
Yeah, and so I mean, I think you're pretty committed to those two with the trade you made. I think they're both talented young players. I think in this West, you're probably not going anywhere anyway. And I think that Zion kind of can fit with those two offensively. Now, defensively, they just haven't really built a roster that's competent defensively. Like their best defender is probably
Jones when he's healthy.
Herb Jones. Yeah, he's great. But I mean, I imagine they should trade him. Like I don't think his value. I think his value is probably only going to go down from here as he gets older. I'm sure the Lakers will be all over him. Teams like that. Like I think that they're probably going to trade him because he is phenomenal. I forgot about him. Poor Herb has just been withering away in New Orleans for like 7 years already. And then after that, like it's Trey Murphy, and Trey Murphy's great. Like I think Oklahoma City should, if they can figure out how it would work financially, they should sniff around Trey Murphy. I think he's a really good winning basketball player, but he can't be your best defender. And then other than that, like it's Jordan Poole and it's Fears and it's Zion and it's Missy and it's Queen and it's, I mean, all these guys, you're like, oh, none of you are good at defense. And so they just don't really have the personnel to have a very good defensive team. And because of that, like, I think you just got to move forward. I think that they should trade Jones and Murphy. And I think there's been some buzz that they probably will. Like, I think they hopefully should be smart enough to realize that neither one of those guys' value is ever going to be any higher. Like, the hypothetical of Trey Murphy is so much more than the actual reality of Trey Murphy has ever been. And I think that's legitimate. Like I'm about as big a fan as him as you can be. I think he's so perfect. And I think he's one of these guys who really fits into a winning basketball team. And he's just never really been on one. So we haven't really been able to see him be what he's going to be. But I mean, I think I'd just roll with Fears and Queen and Zion and then just kind of see what else happens. Cause I kind of think it's what you have to do. Like, I don't think it doesn't make sense financially to pay Murphy, right? It's going to go up to 27, 28 million next year. He's a good player, but what's the point? Like he's your New Orleans, like you should not be anywhere near any apron or tax or anything. And I'm not certain if they are or not, but like, I know that Zion makes high 30s, 40s. I know that Murphy's about to make, 28. And I'm sure they have Jordan Poole under contract for over 30. Like they're not without their big contracts there. And you're not going to be able to get off Jordan Poole. You, for some reason that I don't understand, the rocket scientist, I'm assuming, was out of the room on that one. They traded CJ McCollum, who's good and was just impactful in a playoff series, straight up for Jordan Poole, who had another year on his contract. So
that was wild. That's whenever they do a deal, I just have to take a second look at like, there's
a few teams, man. It's them, it's the Kings, and for the longest time it was the Clippers. Like if they do a thing, it's just not going to work. And so I don't know. I just think that you're so limited asset wise because you don't have your pick this year. Now they've really taken the value out of being actually bad. And I just don't think, like, if someone's going to trade you 2-3 first for Zion, get him out for sure. Don't deal like. Move on. Just have Fears go out there and average 25 and 10 and have the worst defensive rating in NBA history. Like, just go do your thing. You have Fears, you have Queen. I'm sure there's some guys I'm forgetting about that they have that I don't mind. They seem to always have talent that just never meshes there, like you said earlier. So, I just think that those three kind of need to be your people unless you get a really good offer for Zion. And if not, I'd trade Trey Murphy for probably 3 to 5 first/swaps. With where his perceived value is right now. And then, I mean, I imagine you can probably get a first and a swap from the right team for Herb Jones. And so do those things, get yourself more bites at the apple in this new and improved. I think it's an improved lottery system to have a bunch of picks. It's just probably a worse lottery. Not probably, it is a worse lottery system to maybe have one really bad or your really bad pick. So, I mean, I just think roll next year, go Fears, go Zion, go play Missy more, I think Queen can be something. We'll see what that something is. Maybe he's never more than like a Nikola Vucevic type, maybe, or maybe he's like Sabonis, and then I think that's also in the cards. So, I think I want to talk about them because of what they can provide for other teams more than what they can do. Because I think Herb Jones and Trey Murphy both are probably two of the more interesting guys who are likely to get traded this summer.
And we're back with some more NBA observations right here at the Lakers Fast Break. It's Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much again for tuning in. Truly appreciate you doing so. It is, of course, the NBA Finals is now upon us on Wednesday. Game 1 in San Antonio as the New York Knicks and San Antonio Spurs face off. Looking forward to seeing a great contest between Victor Wembayana, the three guards, the unsung heroes on the rest of the San Antonio roster, and also as well, of course, what we see out of New York Knicks. New York is alive. MSG is buzzing with the hopes of a title, first time in eons. First time they've been back to the finals since 1999. Party like it's 1999 indeed. But here is a guy that you know and love. He is always the man behind I Got Next Sports Media, a guy you need to go ahead and like and subscribe to there. It is, of course, Legend. Great to have you back on the show, my friend.
Yeah, same here. Happy to be here.
All right. We got to get you back on the live show. I did discuss with Calif Poncy already a future show involving you, me, and him, and hopefully someone else wants to run some teams and see if we can have a great off-season discussion both for the draft and also as well for free agency and all that good stuff. So definitely looking forward to doing a special episode live one of these days very soon about that as well. So he was all in when I mentioned that to him because he'll be glad to run the Oklahoma City Thunder, and I'll be, of course, running the Lakers. You'll be, of course, running the Golden State Warriors and Atlanta Hawks. So we'll see what happens there. But with that, the two teams that are still operational at this point in time are the San Antonio Spurs and the Knicks. But I know that, of course, Calif Poncy, who covers the Oklahoma City Thunder, has some extended thoughts on the Thunder and their loss in Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals at home. Chet, indeed. Hello. And, while he was quick to talk about as far as the injuries are concerned, and rightly so. And when you have two of your better or best playmakers, including an all-star in J-Dub, not really there for you in the closing games, that obviously is going to be a big hit for you. I understand it, but they're still very deep. And he did say some players did not show up, but the biggest name that did not show up is the biggest guy on Oklahoma City, Chet Holmgren. That he did not brush off, that he did not walk away from. He did admit how bad it looked for Chet in this series. Outside of one game, he really embarrassed himself in this series. Your thoughts on the series? Wembayana has it personal. He has made it personal between him and Chet Holmgren. There's no doubt about it. I see it. And with that, though, comes the future. Chet is supposedly one of your foundational three pieces going forward for your Oklahoma City team. Will that remain to be the case because he gets a whole lot more expensive here in just a short matter of months?
First, I'm going to start off and say congratulations to the Spurs. I originally picked the Thunder. I looked at I'm thinking in Game 7, experience might take over the game, and I knew there was one person who would probably show up, and that would be Wemby. I knew Wemby would show up. He's that type of guy where put experience in the trash can for him. He going to overcome it. It was the others I was not sure about, Castle and all these other guys who never been there before. But I got to say, Gerald, they proved me wrong. The others showed up. They pumped Mr. Chet out and got the world wondering, is it time in Oklahoma is over? So I'm going to first say congrats to them. Secondly, good series. Definitely was a classic. It was one to remember, that's for sure. And I'm going to say this, Gerald. To me, for Oklahoma, Chet was definitely a disappointment the whole series itself. Maybe it was game 4 or 5. It was one of those two.
It was 5 when he got a 16-11. Yeah, and he actually outplayed Wembayana in that game. Yes.
You need to see that more often. But to me, the game 7 performance was the disaster. You cannot go out there making that type of money you making and give me 4 points and 2 shot attempts. Gerald, I know for a fact you and me could have went out there and shot more than 2 shot attempts. I might get blocked, but I'm going to shoot the heck out that ball. I don't care. You just going to block my shot. I'm going to shoot it regardless.
He was afraid.
Give me the ball. That's unacceptable. You're 7'3". You need to shoot the ball more. You need to be there for your team. You know, Caruso, no show. Lou Dort, no show. Kayson Wallace showed up pretty good. He showed up pretty well. But I got to also call out the Mr. MVP. He played a good game in Game 7, but you struggled a lot in this series. There's been a lot of time he was very inefficient. He scored a lot less than normal. It's obvious the defense got to you. As a whole, the whole team, you know, have to step up better. But you got to give credit to San Antonio. That's that defense. They played good defense. They came out there. They locked down. They did their job. But you got to really give a heck of a shout out to them role players in Game 7. A lot of people may not say it. I haven't heard a lot of people bring it up. But Wemby had a good game, but it was the role players that really made a big difference. When you got Castle, everyone knocking down threes, they all doing their part. Kind of hard to overcome that. So that's the biggest thing I'm really sad I took away out that Game 7, the entire series as a whole. But Chet had to look at himself in the mirror this time. You cannot get pumped, not only by Wemby. Vassell, so many dudes on that team that pumped you in this series. You gotta be ashamed of yourself that you let that happen. And the fact that your name is now being thrown in a lot of trade, you should be embarrassed that your name is even involved in that, because that's how bad that you played. That people are really saying you should go send him out for Giannis. That's bad that they got that far right now. I was thinking maybe you heard Jalen Williams' name come up a little bit more because of the injuries. But because of that whole playoff situation, this whole series, now Chet's name's out there. Should have never been that way. Should have never been in this situation. I'm not saying you're going to go out here and beat Victor Wembanyama. He's better than you. But you don't have to go out there and just be like, oh, no, y'all shoot the ball. I'm good. I don't want none of this. You guys got it. Y'all win the game. And lastly, Gerald, and I'm through after this part, the part that really get me the most is that press conference. He said, we. What about you? Take accountability that you didn't show up. I give SGA a lot of credit that he did that. I failed. He said, I like that. You the superstar. Take accountability. You said we. I mean, you guys did lose as a team, yeah. What about you? I know several guys on that team that shot the ball way more than you. Shouldn't been that way. If I was SGA, I would have told him right after that game, I need my watch back, my jacket, everything I gave you, I need all that back. I can't get it to you, man. You left me hanging. So how I would have felt in that situation.
I agree with you. And again, take ownership of it. As far as SGA is concerned, SGA doesn't have much to be. I mean, they made a concerted effort, Spurs did, just like the Lakers did for 3 of the 4 games, to really try and make life miserable for SGA. And he did not shoot well overall in either of those series. But in that game, when it counts, in Game 7, he showed up and played like a 2-time MVP. No one can say otherwise. I cannot say otherwise. You, Calif, or anyone else out there cannot say SGA did not play well enough to win that game, because he did. It's just that outside of Kayson Wallace in that fourth quarter, guys, Alex Caruso, he is not a consistent shooter, never has been. So his hot shooting on the front start of this series turned into some cold shooting in the back end of the series. That's not surprising. He is there for other intangible reasons and defensive reasons. But when he's actually jacking up the second most amount of shots, or one of them, was he second or third? Third on the team in shots.
Yeah.
That's not a good thing for you, even when he is hitting them. It's still not a good thing for you because he's not supposed to be really doing that unless absolutely he's supposed to be getting a couple key shots for you here and there, but mainly focusing on tightening up the defense. And he maybe couldn't do that as well as he would have liked normally because of the fact he had to focus more on offense. Those injuries do matter. I'm not going to sit here and say Jalen Williams being hurt and AJ Mitchell being hurt is not going to matter because it does. Let's not take away anything from Oklahoma City on that end, but they're not. You don't make an excuse. You bring who you brought there to the dance, and again, you have the deepest team in the NBA. You had a lot of other resources. You had Isaiah Joe. You had Jared McCain, who did well throughout the series. You have Wiggins. You have Jalen Williams, who had 11 and 10 in that final game. You have a list of players. You even had more players, that didn't even get a chance to play, that are capable of doing things, Legend, and they just didn't get it done. And Lou Dort was invisible the entire series. That is on him. And for a guy that's looking to get a nice payday this offseason, I don't know what you do with them. And the fact that he couldn't find anyone to really lock down as well, even though there were 3 guards on the other side of San Antonio that you could have tried to lock down a lot better in your time out there. Well, that's on him. That's on him indeed. And yeah, Holmgren, again, he's about ready to be paid. So that's Oklahoma City's issue, whether or not he can grow and mature as a player. What do you do about Hartenstein? Do you keep him? You saw he is serviceable, can do some things for you at the right moments, the key moments, but still he has limitations that he cannot overcome, that even though he's much stronger than Wemby was still able to, in most of those games, come out on top. Your thoughts on where Oklahoma City goes now before we get into the NBA Finals?
I think Oklahoma needs to not hit the panic button because I don't think they're in the panic situation. I think they're going to be right back here in this situation between these two teams. I think what they need to do is you might be time to take advantage of all those picks that you've been hiding in that closet. It might be time to start using some of them to maybe revamp the roster just a little bit, just tweak it some. I would have a long talk with Chet first and just tell him what we saw in this game 7 in this whole series. I can't let you do that. We can't pay you this type of money, and this is what you're going to do. So what I would maybe consider is, unless you're going to get a Giannis or something, maybe I would tell him, look, I'm going to give you until the dead get yourself together. And when you play against the Spurs, that's when I'm watching you the most. You go out here and do this same thing again, we got to move on. I just can't do that. We just can't allow it. So I might see what's out there for maybe Chet. But I also think you need to really think about the Jalen Williams situation too. Because it might just be me, Gerald, but the fact that you had that many hamstring injuries in one season, that's a little concerning. That is a little concerning. So I feel like you have to think about the health-wise of your second best player on this team. If this is going to be a continual type of thing, that could be alarming. So I don't know if you think about seeing what is out there for him, and maybe you decide between him or Chet which one you want to maybe move off of. But I think that's a decision that you may have to have a conversation on. And then lastly, I think they end up moving off Lou Dort, not because of complete the playoff performance, but just in general, because you can get another Lou Dort with no problem in the draft. I think you can find another one of him. I think you keep Hartenstein. You got to keep him. You cannot lose him. So I feel like you keep him. You probably lose Lou Dort. You find a replacement through the draft or free agency.
What if you do go for Giannis though, instead of Hartenstein?
Well, I tell Chet, it was nice knowing you, man. You got to ride. I'm not turning down Giannis. It's either you or Jalen Williams. One of you about to go. You got to pick which one it's gonna be. You got to decide whether you're gonna believe that Chet's gonna grow from this situation, or you're gonna believe that Jalen Williams' hamstring situation is gonna clear up, just like Steph. He had all the ankles injuries at the beginning of his career, and then eventually it cleared up. So maybe you're hoping the same thing happened with Jalen Williams. So I feel like at that point, if Giannis is truly available, you're gonna have to look in between one of these two. Have to go, including with one of your picks. You might have to give up an Isaiah Joe or something. You never know.
Which one would I give up first? I would probably give Jalen Williams up first, to be honest with you, because I think you could find, with all the numerous assets they have, they could find an easier Jalen Williams than Chet Holmgren replacement to go alongside with Giannis. I mean, Giannis with another 7-footer, although the Turner, that didn't really work out so well. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, maybe you keep Williams. That's something you know what? I'll have to think about that one. Maybe I want to keep Williams after all over and send Holmgren in a package deal for Giannis. You know, if you do Williams, Holmgren, yeah, you could find another 7-footer to go along. Because I really think that if you bring Giannis in there, you really need another big or somebody on the front line to help with him. I know he does defend Wemby, or in this short amount of times Wembayana has played against Giannis. Giannis has defended him pretty good. But I still, just because of foul wise, I would still want to make sure that I could bring in some height, or if they can move up in the draft in Ademara.
And he'll be available.
I would trade Chet Holmgren in a second if I could get Giannis and Ademara. And I would let Hartenstein go. I would rather have an Ademara Giannis front line than a Holmgren Isaiah Hartenstein line. I probably lean into that one more. It's a higher ceiling, maybe a lower floor, but a higher ceiling. Yeah,
it's cheaper.
It would be cheaper because of Holmgren's contract kicking in. It would end up being cheaper. Despite Giannis's price tag right there. So yeah, kind of think, you know what, I'm thinking more about it. I think I'll keep Williams and I'll just, again, trade Holmgren package. Then I would try and trade a move up, see if I could go and get Ademara in the draft, because he's an excellent passing big man. I think that's one of the best, he's one of the best passing big men that there is, which would lessen the effect of losing Hartenstein, because Hartenstein is a really strong passer out of the box area. That's one of his biggest strengths is his ability to go ahead and pass and find people. So yeah, I would run with that. I think it has a higher ceiling, a lower floor because of rookie inexperience and injury to Giannis, but I think it does have a higher sense. Yeah, I would think about doing that, Legend.
Yeah, it's something I would think about, just because of you getting youth, you're getting somebody younger, and then you get somebody greater, and not gonna be afraid of Victor Wembanyama. The most important part, you're not gonna be afraid of the moment. And plus, that's a champion already.
If Milwaukee really wants to get rid of a lot of assets, they would trade Turner along with Giannis and say one goes with the other, and then really move off some bad money off the books.
I mean, taking Turner too may not really be that bad for Oklahoma. They can put them some good use. I mean, I think when you get Giannis, you just not only got somebody who is not afraid of the moment, somebody who can handle it doing beyond, but you got a person who has championship experience. He knows the moment. He been in game 7s too. He knows. So that'd be a pretty good plus for them, which is why I kind of understand why some people on Twitter was like, we're all celebrating Oklahoma loss. Well, it could get worse. It might get worse depending on what they do. It could get ugly.
I'll just say this. I had a conversation while I was trying to communicate to you while I was on my way back to the office, and it's with Stefan Piscano of the Stefan Piscano podcast. He wants to set up something real soon, but his eternal love for Rob Pelinka just, humors me. And the fact that he's never won a conversation between us at all in regards to that, or the 65 game rule, is just amusing me even more. But it's just fascinating because of the fact that he texted me out of the blue about my guy Rob Presti. Presti is not my guy. Presti is just someone who legitimately is good at his job. It's just there. Yeah. He has set this team up, Oklahoma City. Yes, they lost in the Western Conference Finals, but get used to this, folks. With the talent array they have, the draft choices that they have, the options that they have, even if they don't do anything and stand pat, just the sheer ability to acquire talent is infinitely more accessible than almost any team out there. It is more accessible than any team out there. That includes San Antonio, Houston, New Jersey, Brooklyn, whoever who you think has a lot of myriad of assets. Definitely the Lakers. They have more options and resources, and it takes a GM to build a team to do that. So while they didn't get the championship this year, if they're at least in the Western Conference Finals and winning a title every other year, or if they're winning any more titles for the rest of this decade or in the next 5 or 10 years, and they're competitive at this level every single year or thereabouts, then really you've set your team up for success. And this is what we want out of your teams. You want your front office to build a team like that with Golden State and with Atlanta. And I certainly want it with a competent GM and president to be able to do that with the Lakers, which may or may not happen, most likely not under Rob Pelinka.
Yeah, when it comes to trusting Rob Pelinka, I know a lot of people out there like him and all, but it's kind of hard to ignore the stenches.
Well, the Lakers are a top-notch, top-of-the-line organization, one of the leading names on the entire planet as far as sports is concerned. It's Manchester United, the Lakers, the Yankees, and a select few, the Dodgers, a select few that are known. And when you have that level, you need elite personnel making the decisions at a top level. And the Lakers just have not had that this decade. And that's on Rob. And that's the fact. You cannot have a mediocre GM with some successes and some failures, actually many failures, to be running and expect this team to be at the level of what the Lakers are perceived to be at. And the Lakers are always, with a numerous fan base around the world, are perceived to be at such a high level. And the problem is the management has not been up for that task and not been able to bring in the talent to get the level that is needed for this team to succeed at that level continuously. And that's the problem right there. And when I have him on the show again in the not too distant future, I'll win that argument again, as I always have with him, and I'll leave it at that. But Legend, we get back to what's coming up for the NBA Finals. Once again, it is Legend from I Got Next Sports Media, along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching, listening. Truly appreciate it. Legend, it is the NBA Finals. San Antonio now moves on, a very emotional series. And I was talking with Calif. I'm still thinking right now, everything for me is leaning towards San Antonio, with one exception. And that is the fact that it was a very emotional run for San Antonio. We saw how emotional Victor Wembayana got after winning that final Game 7 on the road in OKC. We saw how emotional the San Antonio Spurs were when they accepted that trophy, the Western Conference. I'm not even sure they fully believe or have bought in just to how good they really are, which sometimes does come with inexperience and whatnot. But I think when you come about and look at it on a talent basis, you have to go with San Antonio. But because of the fact that people will still say that they're not ready for the moment, that's going to make things a little bit, not sure as far as exactly who you think is going to win. But the X factor, and the reason why I thought that they were going to overcome their inexperience throughout the playoffs is still Victor Wembanyama. I just think that he believes in himself to the point where he can make anything happen. And if he plays to the level we saw in games 1, it was game 1, game 4, I think, and then game 7, if we see that level player, watch out, because it's going to be something that New York may not be able to match up against.
Yeah, if he come out there and just have that mindset that I'm ready to hold the Larry O'Brien trophy, New York might be in trouble. And I think that's one of the things I think this series is going to really come down to is, will this moment not be too big for Victor Wembayana and the Spurs? I'm going to go and say it, Gerald, because this is what I thought about in Game 7 too. Victor Wembayana going to show up. I expect him to show up. I think at this point, experience, bottled up, put in the trash can when it comes to him. He's going to show up. That's just greatness. That's just one thing about how great he is. It's the others what I look at the most. Will this moment be too big for Stephon Castle, Harper, and all these other guys to show up? I think that's what it's going to really come down to. You know, I'm leaning towards the Spurs myself, because I said all season long, whoever come out the West, that's who's going to win the championship. And when it came down to being Spurs and Thunder in that Western Conference Finals, I said whoever come out that series will win the championship. I'm going to stick with that. So I'm going to roll with the Spurs to win the championship. But the experience could play a factor in this situation. And New York has been rolling, even though, you know, I ain't trying to poo-poo for New York fans, but I got to say, you ain't played not a damn soul compared to what just came out that series. You didn't play that. I just mean, Cleveland definitely wasn't that. My Hawks, you know, we the only one that managed to win 2 games. Shout out to my Hawks. At least y'all did do something. Everybody else pooped their pants in the playoff. 76ers, and none of them teams were Oklahoma City Thunder. They didn't play that. They wasn't on their level, which is why I think the Spurs will win this series, because I feel like they're just a better team. But I can see them losing this series because of experience shows up. The youth shows up. So that's what, to me, is going to determine for the Spurs to win this series. Will the youth bite them? That's what it's going to come down to. But I wouldn't be surprised New York win too either. I would not be surprised the Knicks managed to get ready to make 1,000 Knicks fans cry and run around like crazy in the New York streets. Because, Gerald, I'm going to say it. Gerald, if they win the championship, oh, boy. This summer going to be something to remember. But these Knicks fans, I know 2 Knicks fans in real life right now. And I literally had one hug me just today saying, is this going to be my year? I'm like, I don't know if it's going to be your year, but we're going to find out.
There's a 7'7" individual that might say otherwise, and I'll just leave it at that.
That's what I told him. It's a 7'5" man in San Antonio who might tell you not this year. But we're gonna find out. We're gonna see what the Knicks do. But this should be a really good series though. And I think the NBA probably happy to have such a big market team in the finals too. So I know right now the NBA like, thank you. This ain't like last year. 2 small markets against each other. We got a big market in here, so I know they're happy to see that. So this should be a really good series in the long run. The New York Knicks fans been through a lot. If they do win, I'll be happy for them too. Stephen A. Smith gonna be something else on TV if they were to win.
A lot of people will be, and they'll all be happy. Spike Lee, Timothée Chalamet, Ben Stiller, they'll all be happy. Kylie Jenner will be happy because Timothée Chalamet will be happy. But I'll say this again, it is, like you just said, very succinctly, that if the NBA is probably very giddy that they're one of their largest media marketplaces, in fact, the largest media marketplace, finally has a chance to go ahead and have a team in the finals for the first time in over a quarter century. And then they're going to be facing off against the player that the NBA is going to market as the face of their league for years to come in Victor Wembanyama. So this is lined up quite perfectly for the NBA, and we will wait to see what happens, what kind of drama. But again, when we're talking about the Lakers before, and we're talking about other teams before, when you're on the road, you got to take one. San Antonio set the tone right away with taking that game 1 in Oklahoma City and changed the dynamic of that series going forward. It put some doubt in Oklahoma City's mind for the rest of that series, that they can win on the road. And you know what? It gained strength, it gained confidence for San Antonio that they could go into Game 7 in Oklahoma City and win that. So New York has to go ahead and right off the bat split one of two in San Antonio, or it could be problematic because then Victor Wembayana on that stage at MSG, I think he might thrive in that. He is not one to shine away. He's not going to do a Chet Holmgren in the moment. He, when the spotlights are brightest, will probably do whatever he can to try and make it shine brightest for him.